Okay, for overlapping exercises, I'm going to show you how to do an example of with and without overlapping. So I just found a little circle that I could use here as a template. It's just a small thing of tape, and I'm going to circle here, make a few circles, and allow them to be a little bit on top of each other, just like this, making an interesting little caterpillar-like shape. Okay, so they're sort of overlapping there. Then I'm going to do the same, sort of the same thing on another card. So they're overlapping on both cards, like so. So they're overlapping. Now I'm going to express each of these in a different way. One where I actually show overlapping and one where I do not show overlapping. So I'm going to start with the easier one first, where I am not going to show overlapping. And to do that, I'm simply going to take a marker and carefully fill in the entire shape. I think it's nice to outline it first. Makes it a little bit easier to then go ahead and do the big work of filling it in a little more quickly. And I'm not paying attention to anything that's happening here in the interior because I'm not trying to exhibit the overlapping in this part. So I just simply color the whole thing in, and it looks like one big flat shape, just like this. I'm coloring it in carefully so it looks good. Make sure your exercises look neat and tidy and expressive of what you're trying to say visually. If they're too messy and too haphazard, you don't get the visual point. And if you don't get the visual point, there's no reason to do them. So make sure that you're being neat enough so that you can get your point across. And in this case, my point is that there is no overlapping here. It's just one flat blobular shape. Okay. In this other case is going to be different. So what I'm going to have to do here is to decide who's on top of whom by erasing one part of each of these little circles so that I show who's on top of whom with regard to this overlapping. And then I need to express that in terms of my magic marker. And so each of these in turn is going to have to be different from each other. So let's say for this first one that's going to be on top here, I'm just going to go ahead and make this one a completely filled in black one here. Right? Now if I make the next one completely filled in black, it's going to start to resemble this version that does not have overlapping in it, right? So I have to do something different there. And if I'm going to stay with the idea of marker, what I can do is a little bit of cross hatching. So I can take this circle and instead of filling it in, which I can't do, I need for it to be different from this one, I can do a little bit of cross hatching. I can do some linear pattern or attempt to show a little bit of shading if I feel like it, or just anything so long as it's different from the one that it is underneath, right? So I can do a little bit of cross hatching there, and then on the next one I can't do the same thing. I'm going to go back and do this one in the solid black, because all that really matters in this case, there's many different ways to do it, but all that really matters is that you get the idea across that these are different forms, one on top of the other. And so what is most important is what's happening in between these edges where they come in contact with each other. So I'm going to go back to the cross hatching on this one so I can show the difference between the two. And you could do these with different colors. You could make one black and one red and one black and one red, whatever you wanted to do to differentiate them so that you could see that edge. In this case, I'm just simply using the marker and alternating. The only important thing, again, is that you be able to see the difference between these different circles as they overlap each other, one on top of the other. And so you'll express two very simple examples of the idea of overlapping, both with overlapping, where you can tell which one is in front of the other, and without overlapping, where it looks like one flat shape.